Have you ever taken a chance on a horror movie only to feel like you just wasted 2 hours of your life? Well, I did, and I'm here to do a service and walk you all through this movie so you don't have to do the same thing I did. That movie is Spin the Bottle, a film that came out in 2024 and is sitting at a pretty 20% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.4 out of 10 on IMDb. I did not know these things before going into this movie. It's kind of a tradition of mine and my husband's to more or less go in blind when it comes to horror movies, and that is exactly what we did here. Let's just hop right into this masterpiece of a movie. The movie opens in 1978, and there is a group of friends hanging out in a creepy house, as young people do. The young girl who lives there is named Lorelai, and it would appear that these other kids have ulterior motives for being at her house. It very much seems like the young sheltered girl is being taken advantage of by these friends who just want to see her dad's cellar for some reason. Lorelai tries to convince them not to go downstairs by saying it's not allowed, but this guy Carter, he takes advantage of her and reassures her, and of course she is a naive young girl with a crush, so they all get into the cellar. Once there, Lorelai very much regrets letting them down there. She continues trying to convince them to leave, but one of the girls goes into like this little closet area and then comes back with a creepy bottle. And what do we do with creepy bottles? Well, we play Spin the Bottle inside of a pentagram that's carved into the floor, obviously. So the kids start playing. They start kissing, as you do in Spin the Bottle. Meanwhile, this priest drives up to the house trying to find Lorelai, but of course no one can hear him knocking on the door because they're fooling around in the basement. So the kids continue. Lorelai gets very uncomfortable when Carter kisses another girl, and the bottle uncorks, reacting to her jealousy or whatever it is that she's going through. This very badly rendered little smoke cloud the size of like a coin comes out and makes its way towards Lorelai. And we don't really see what all goes on down there. All we get is the priest circling around and looking through the basement window to see Lorelai force push one of the girls. Clearly she's possessed. Now we're in present day, and surprise, Ali Larter is in this movie, the very same. Hello, Claire Redfield. She's in what looks like a hospital of some sort. I guessed rehab at first, but that's not what it is. We find out her husband died and she's not taking it very well, and apparently after the fact the only asset she and her son Cole have is her childhood home, so that's where Cole is headed. He is going to finish out school in this little town, fix up the house, and try to make it all work. His mom is very reluctant but eventually concedes, but tells him do not go into the cellar. So Cole heads to his new home alone, does some football tryouts at the local high school, meets a bunch of kids in town, and eventually they all end up hanging out together. On his first night in town, they all end up hanging out at his place. By the way, if you didn't catch it, this house is the very same place where Lorelai got possessed and all those people died in the beginning of the movie, or supposedly died. And this being a small town, everyone knows the house and the stories behind it, and immediately they all get very nosy. They of course want to go down to the cellar where it all happened, which is padlocked with a very, very heavy, like medieval looking lock, but one of the girls straight breaks the lock and breaks the door open after Cole says they're not supposed to go down there. That is property damage. So they all go down into the cellar, and the girl that broke the door, Mila, wanders into the same closet as before and finds the same bottle and convinces everyone to play Spin the Bottle on the same pentagram. They do, everyone starts making out. It's got Love Island feels, you know, where everyone is constantly making out around, in front, or with each other. Cole and one girl, obviously the good girl in this situation, Casey, have instant chemistry, but just like last time, at some point the bottle starts doing weird things that no one notices. Mila and her man Travis eventually wander into the creepy closet to make out, and Mila sees and hears someone watching them and freaks out. But to everyone else, she's just going crazy. She calls an Uber, which shows up to this middle of nowhere house in like 4 seconds, even though in the beginning of the movie, Cole's mom said that the place doesn't even show up on GPS. And you have to take this like miles long dirt road to get to this little house. So no idea where this Uber driver was hanging out to get there so fast. I was just confused that no one took her home. Like, her boyfriend, who desperately wants to help her before she leaves, didn't offer to take her home. Mila then gets creepy feelings in the car and suddenly sees Lorelai in the seat next to her and absolutely freaks out. She jumps out of the car, the driver calls her a drug addict and drives off, abandoning her in the middle of nowhere. Personally, I would have walked back to the house because I swear they only drove for about 7 seconds. And just as she is left left on the dirt road by herself, everyone else starts to leave the house and turn in for the night. So someone could have taken her home. What are we doing? Mila is all by herself in the dark. She's getting more creepy feelings. She heads over to the singular lamp on the side of a train track just so she has light. And this figure, aka Lorelai, walks out of the dark and says, "It's your turn," and then jumps on her right before the boyfriend drives by in his car. Should have taken her home. Cole falls asleep in his creepy home and wakes up to someone banging on the door. He answers it and it's Justin Long. He's literally in every horror movie nowadays. I swear, I see him everywhere. He informs Cole that Mila is missing and comes in to ask him a few questions. He asks him if he's related to Old Man Randall, and he confirms to the sheriff that his mother is Mara, who is Old Man Randall's daughter. And the sheriff then starts asking about what they were all doing last night and reveals that he is Casey's father. As he's leaving, Cole asks if he has to include the fact that he's related to the Randalls in the police report because his mother really wanted to keep that under wraps, and he doesn't really know why because his mother has never really elaborated on that. But the sheriff tells him it's something he needs to ask his mom about, so we still don't exactly know what's going on. Now he's exploring the house more and he gets a call from Casey, who tells him, "Hey, it's a small town. Word is out that you're a Randall, so you should go hang out with the boys for a bit, just in case anything happens." So he does. This guy, Weston, who is one of the guys from school, is a total dick, by the way. So much so that Cole kind of leaves immediately after he arrives and heads home to do some research on the Randalls. He sees headlines about cult rituals, devil worship, the massacre in the house, and then Casey shows up to distract him. Basically, she asks him how he's related to the Randalls, and he informs her that Lorelai was his mother's big sister, and she was just a baby when everything happened, so she doesn't know, she doesn't remember anything. The two have a very weird, little flirty moment in which she insists on calling him a Randall, even though he's very sensitive about that. Almost I don't know, the way she did it was oddly fetishy, but that's just my opinion. And then they head down into the basement to investigate what happened, and they realize the creepy bottle they were using the night before is mysteriously gone. And this is where Casey decides Lorelai is haunting them because playing spin the bottle was just super disrespectful to her. So then the other friends show up outside the house and play a stupid prank on them, and Cole has had it up to here with Weston, so they get into a little fight, but as they're being obnoxious teens, Casey gets a call from her dad to tell her that Mila's body has been found and everyone thinks it was suicide. At the funeral, Casey makes her speech, her friend's speech, as you do, but at some point she says, "It was not suicide, something chased her onto those tracks." And Mila's parents immediately point their fingers at Cole, saying, "It was him, the Randall boy." The sheriff hauls him out of there to save his ass before a riot starts, and then kind of scolds Casey for almost starting it. They have a father-daughter disagreement at home, and Casey, being a teenage girl, sneaks out to go to a funeral after party at Weston's house, where Sophie reveals that she stole the bottle, and she suggests they all play spin the bottle at the party. To which even Cole and Casey agree, even with the suspicions that they have, which was just very odd. Also, by the way, Travis is really torn up about his girlfriend dying, so he wanders off on his own into the dark. Everyone else starts playing spin the bottle. They all start making out. It's weird because there's no actual point to any of it. But then some cups fly off the table and people start getting a little freaked out. Someone spins the bottle, but the bottle redirects and kind of does its own thing. And Cole and Casey look at each other thinking, this is what we're supposed to do, right? And they start making out because I guess they know exactly how this all works. I don't know how they came to this conclusion, but that's what they're doing. And then Sophie feels these hands on the back of her neck, which I think was the only kind of creepy moment of this whole video. And she gets up and walks off on her own, loosely looking for Travis outside. While she's hiking a mile from the house at night, she sees Lorelai's ghost and starts running aimlessly until she finally runs into Travis, who was also wandering aimlessly in the night, who sees nothing. They start talking about Mila, and somehow this turns into them having a little makeout session of their own, which Lorelai watches creepily from the darkness, and that's that. While this is happening, Casey took the bottle and went to Cole's place with him, and they have confirmed that because Lorelai died during Spin the Bottle, playing must bring her back. So they gotta bury the bottle. Obviously. I have no idea how they are coming up with these ideas with absolutely no evidence to back anything up, but here we are. And then they start making out. And then Cole spills the beans that his father is gone and his mom isn't in isn't out of town like he's been telling everybody this whole time. She is actually in a mental asylum. And of course, girls are weak to sob stories. So now back to Weston, who is making out with some girl in his bed. He hears his truck alarm go off, so he wanders his ass outside to turn it off. He turns his back to the truck and faces the woods because he's getting creepy feelings. And in my second watch through of this movie, I actually noticed the window behind his head was like pre-broken, or I don't know, but however you do broken windows in movies, I guess. But Lorelai reaches through the window and grabs him from inside the car and like bends his head back, killing him with glass shards or something, even though that's not how car windows break, but it's a movie, I guess. JP, who is the woman that he was making out with, comes to check on him because he's been gone for a while. You know, he's just supposed to turn off his car alarm, which he totally could have done from the second floor window where he was making out. You know, you could have just stuck the car alarm, the remote out the window, but that's beside the point, sort of. But she goes looking for him. She walks around the car, finds his body, runs back inside screaming, and Lorelai is waiting, who now has like snake fangs for some reason. She gets more snake-like as the movie goes on. I don't really understand the purpose behind that. They sort of try to explain it away, but the explanation doesn't really make sense, but I digress. The sheriff pays Cole a visit again to ask about these deaths the next morning. Cole is clearly shocked, has no idea what is going on, and the sheriff is skeptical at first until his daughter wanders out half naked to say, "Look, Dad, he's got an alibi. He was doing something else during the time of those deaths, and that something else is me." She didn't say that. He tells her to wait in the car and then starts telling Cole a story about the Randalls. He starts talking about the Randalls and then eventually tells Cole something that clearly upsets him before leaving. We don't know what that thing is yet. This is when Cole finds a note on his car saying, "We have to meet me at this church," or whatever. He puts that on the back burner to go and pay his mom a visit and says, "Look, Mom, bad things are happening. You need to tell me what's up. There are dead people. Okay, people are dead." She caves and she says her father wanted to gain control of a demon, so he started doing all these rituals and eventually it corrupted him. Then she mentions the bottle that's been passed through their generations and it can attract and contain evil spirits, and he uses it to trap a demon, or used it to trap a demon. And the way he enticed the demon was he used Lorelai, his daughter, and he did terrible things to her. And this is where we find out that Lorelai is not her sister. She's her mother. Her sister mother, if you catch my drift. After he hears all of this, Cole says, "You know how you told me absolutely do not go into the cellar? Well, we did. Also, I have that bottle. It's in my truck." And his mom goes a little bit crazy, which in a mental asylum, no one is going to take you seriously. So the doctors just kind of drag her away as she's screaming all of these things. Cole returns to his little town and calls Casey, telling her he's no good for her, stay away. Also, I'm going to this church to meet this dude that might have some information, but stay away, don't come. The sheriff hears her talking on the phone and he forbids her from ever going to see Cole again. But then he leaves, and of course she is a teenage girl, so she calls her friends to come and pick her up. Also, just a side note, but the soundtrack to this movie was bizarre, to say the least. Like weird electronic, like almost Tron vibes. I'm not lying, it was trippy. So Cole gets to this super old church to find this guy who I feel has played a priest more than once in other movies. I just can't put my finger on it. And it turns out to be the guy in the very beginning of the movie who witnessed everything go down in the basement. He tells him that Cole's great-grandfather actually fought evil, and then his grandfather decided to embrace it and try to tame it. He spills the beans, sort of. We get a little bit more out of the night that Lorelai like murdered everybody when they were playing Spin the Bottle, and it landed on the guy she clearly had a crush on, that Carter guy, and he refused to kiss her because her daddy messed her up good and she's crazy. And Lorelai did not take this well. And the bottle demon knew. It was like, yes. And it wandered its little way out to corrupt her. So she killed everyone with a shotgun, but before leaving she goes and like sucks Carter's soul a little bit, because I guess that's a thing that she does. The priest then does make his way into the basement and confronts her with this little cross, and she eventually comes back to herself, only to see that she has sucked Carter's soul. The guy was an absolute dick to her, but she's very upset about it. Then she picks up the shoddy and then Sophie asks the question we are all wondering about, and that is, Are we fighting a ghost or a demon? And Padre says both. It's a ghost of Lorelai, but the demon has possessed Lorelai. And he says playing spin the bottle has made her all angry again, and she thinks all these people have caused her pain, so she's picking them off. And the only way to stop it is to play spin the bottle with love, to pacify her so that the demon doesn't have a host and they can put it back in the bottle and burn it. Because it has to be destroyed the way it was made, and I guess that means fire, but also only a Randall can do it, so that leaves Cole. It was a weird and very long-winded conversation, but now the plan is to play spin the bottle in the basement lovingly. So they go back to Cole's house with a shotgun because that's how you defend yourself against ghosts. They go into the cellar. Cole turns on a little furnace that's down there, and they start playing spin the bottle. And in this game, no one turns down a kiss like in all those other games, because before you're allowed to turn down the kiss if you don't want to kiss somebody, but not this time, because that's not how love works. So everyone is kissing each other. Pretty reluctantly, but they're still kissing each other until the bottle eventually redirects like it did last time, and Casey and Cole start making out. And the paranormal activity starts to spike, and Sophie is looking around. She's looking at them making out and watching all this paranormal activity go on, and she just goes, "It's working, keep smooching." And it does in fact work. Lorelai turns up and Cole is like, "I think she wants us to keep going." And they keep making out. At this point, Lorelai just seems like she has a voyeurism kink, I won't lie, because she's just standing in the shadows, just staring at them, watching them make out. It's very odd. So Sophie spins the bottle next, and it lands on Travis, and she freaks out thinking it's a trick. And she locks herself in that creepy closet for some reason, but Lorelai just came out of the wall 2 seconds ago, so of course she's in the closet with her and she sucks her spirit. Travis is tray mad about this, and he takes a shotgun and starts firing at Lorelai's ghost and hits a gas pipe. And then he keeps firing at her as she follows him upstairs. He hears Sophie in one of the upstairs bedrooms and somehow thinks it's the real Sophie, even though he just saw her body downstairs. He finds a room with a bed and pulls the covers back to find Mila, who turns into Lorelai. Travis goes running down the hall, and Cole and Casey have run upstairs at this point, and so they kind of meet in the hallway, and Travis gets pulled back and dragged into one of the rooms or downstairs or something. He gets his soul sucked. It's very weird. But I guess this is where Cole and Casey think it's a good time to burn the bottle. So Lorelai shows up in the basement again when they're about to do this, and their plan is to just start making out and saying they love each other in front of her. And at this point, I was just getting really uncomfortable, to be honest. Cole then presents Lorelai with a doll that he saw her holding in one of the old photos and tells her he is her grandson. Maura is his mom, and he just goes on and on about family, about being family, yada, yada, yada. They love her. And the snake features she's had this whole time start to slowly disappear, and it's Lorelai for a couple of seconds before poof, she's gone. Then Casey uncorks the bottle, hands it to Cole, and they trap the tiny smoke cloud inside. And then the sheriff shows up, and Casey runs to meet him upstairs as Cole drops the bottle in the fire, but it explodes, because I think we're meant to think that the broken gas pipe had something to do with that, but I'm pretty sure if that was the case, the fire would have traveled through the pipes and the whole place would have exploded. But Cole is fine. He's in the hospital with a tiny little nosebleed. And Casey is there for another little makeout sesh, because this movie should have been called Random Makeout Sessions. There are people at the house fixing it up, and I guess the basement is a little burned, but not really. They smeared some black stuff on the walls to maybe represent fire damage, but everything in the basement is still perfectly fine, including the bottle, which one lucky guy finds completely unharmed with that little smoke cloud inside. Guys, this movie was exactly 2 hours of nonsense. Exactly. It was 1 hour and 59 minutes of absolute nonsense. Lucky for you, I told you the entire plot so you don't have to watch it. I love Ali Lauder. I love Justin Long. I don't know why they're in this movie. I mean, I understand actors work for paychecks, But this was just a bad movie. I truly do not understand the ghost. I don't understand Lorelai. I don't think the writers really understood it. I don't know what to say about it. All right, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, like it, comment below if you've seen this movie, or if you have other movie suggestions, would love to hear those. I need to go get some water. I am dying, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.